Welcome to the first edition of the Midwest Roadshow podcast, streaming at SoundCloud, Podbean, and available for you to stream and subscribe at iTunes as well. I'm Jason. Thanks so much for joining me here. And if you hear a little faint rumble in the background of this brief introduction to today's first guest, let me explain. I initially scripted this out and recorded it in a studio. It sounded pretty cheesy and terrible, so I figured it's the Midwest Roadshow after all, so let's just record the introduction in the car, and that's what I'm doing. Taking a quick little fall drive here. The belt is buckled, Mom. Hands are at 10 and 2. The mic and the podcast equipment, those are riding shotgun next to me here in my car. Plenty of friends have asked what the Midwest Roadshow is. Briefly, it's kind of a way to shine a spotlight on some of the incredible people that I have met in the places that I've lived and worked across the Midwest over the past 10, 15 years or so now. It's also a way for you to learn about cities, neighborhoods, restaurants, bars, hotels, cool shops that are all just a quick drive away from wherever you are right now in the Midwest. There's the podcast here. There is streaming video and content at Vimeo, YouTube, and on Facebook as well. You'll find photo galleries. A television pilot is almost edited. You name it, all the details right now for you at MidwestRoadshow.com. We'll get to our very first guest in about 15 seconds, but quickly, if you're interested in sponsoring or advertising on the Midwest Roadshow, I'd love to have you, simply because 100% of any and all proceeds, those all get donated right back to the Children's Hospital Foundation in your own Midwestern community, all to help cover the medical costs for kids and the families who simply can't afford it. Now, the business of the day out of the way, let's get to our first guest and how I first met Sean Moeller. Long story short, all the way back to when I was in high school in Park Ridge, Illinois at Maine South, I loved the band Toad the Wet Sprocket. I still do. A few years back, while living in the Quad Cities and working at WQAD there, I woke up on a Sunday morning and saw something, I think it was on Twitter or maybe Instagram, from the lead singer of Toad the Wet Sprocket, Glenn Phillips, that they were actually spending their Sunday morning in downtown Rock Island, Illinois, and they were recording with Day Trotter. It was a music studio and website which has hosted thousands of up-and-coming acts and some very well-known artists, including, that's a long list, Counting Crows, Mumford & Sons, a handful of them, you name them. I did the only logical thing, knowing that one of my favorite bands was just across the river from where I was. I hit the lead singer up on Twitter, because that's obviously the logical thing that you do. And I invited the band to come join my buddies and I for lunch, for beers, for the Bears game right after they finished recording, because, yeah, how cool would that be to have your favorite band from when you were a kid or a teenager just pop by for lunch to hang out? Well, Sean Moeller, who had founded Day Trotter, saw the tweet, and he actually invited me over to the recording session to sit in with the band. Are you freaking kidding me? That was the coolest thing ever. I drove across the Centennial Bridge, found the studio, and that wasn't easy at the time. There was no sign, and it was just up a stairwell next to a pizza joint. And sure enough, as promised, there they were, Toad the Wet Sprocket, recording that quick session, no audience or anything. The way that it worked at the time was that bands would simply pop in to record 4 songs between tour stops right there in the Quad Cities. The area is just off of I-80, so there were always bands popping through while driving between places like Minneapolis, Chicago, St. Louis, anyone heading out west towards Denver, Vegas, the West Coast, you name it. The session was then posted to daytrotter.com. You can still listen to most of those right now. So no surprise, the band was awesome. The day was awesome, as was Sean. He's a fantastic husband and father of 4. He's genuinely one of the nicest, most genuine people that you could ever ask to meet. Pretty much personifies so much of the personality of the Quad City area. Creative, a very hard worker. It's really become like a smaller version of an Austin, Texas, or Nashville, and a lot of that has to do with Sean and his hard work. Caught up with my old pal in his backyard in Davenport, Iowa just a few days ago. He had just finished mowing the lawn, and maybe that explains all the crickets that you can hear in the background of our conversation. Sean recently broke with Day Trotter to focus on several new projects, and we chatted about those, the Midwest as a whole, and his favorite bands of all time. But we started logically with this first question. Enjoy. So one of the first questions that people ask strangers when they meet is, oh, what do you do?
Yeah.
If someone met you for the first time, they didn't know you, and they said, oh, Sean, what do you do? What do you tell them?
I never know how to answer the question. I think lately, all I've been telling people is I sell tickets. That's like all I do. That's what I try to do every day, is sell tickets. I don't know. I mean, obviously it's more complicated than that, but essentially I try and put together good times for people to come and get away from their lives. It's an escape. I'm an escapism.
I'm an escape artist?
I'm an escape artist.
Of sorts?
Because there's some magic involved.
Right.
There's some art involved. I think I'm an escape artist. Maybe. That works?
I think that works. When someone says that they are from the Midwest,
Yeah.
what does that mean?
I think usually for me it means that we can get along a little bit, usually.
Why's that?
I don't know. There's something about it. When you go to LA or New York or whatever and you meet somebody that's also from like Iowa or the Midwest, I don't know, man. There's certainly, I mean, it's the cheesiest thing ever, but there are core values, I think, and not in like again, not in a cheesy way, in a value sense, like, oh man, we got the same values. But it's like, I think there's a lot of respect for, especially in what I do, in my industry, you know, in the music industry, there's a lot of respect for somebody that comes from the Midwest and has done something in the Midwest, you know. I think it's a tribute to kind of, you know, hardworking, you know, just hustling, sort of that mindedness of making stuff happen in a place where people don't expect things to happen. You know, I think the Midwest is constantly overlooked and constantly downplayed as not a wasteland, but just kind of a vacant sort of place for culture, for you know, the pleasures in life, I guess, you know, for like, you know, having real entertainment value, for having genuinely good things, you know. I think when there's like a nice restaurant or a nice hotel in the Midwest or in a Midwestern city, if it's here or elsewhere, people are like, oh, that's really nice for here, you know. But if you actually put it into a real context, no, it's nice for everywhere. And I think there's always the mentality of the underdog. And I think I always kind of associate being a Midwesterner with being able to overcome stuff.
There are a lot of people here in Illinois, Iowa, when you're going on vacation. I'm going to Florida, I'm going to California. I don't know if the perception is that people in Florida and California are like, oh, I'm going to Ohio. I'm going to the mighty Mississippi.
Yeah, I don't think that happens
which
too
is too
often.
bad.
It is too bad. I mean, I think I like traveling around. I like seeing other places, but I tend to always go see other places and try and find the connections and kind of what we're doing here, what's happening here, what I'm trying to kind of like do with my life's work, with, you know, what some of my friends, you know, that are also kind of visionary, sort of like futurist thinking people, like builders. We're builders. We're trying to like create a new reality for what this place is, because I think, you know, there's plenty of Midwestern cities that certainly went through huge downswings. You know, I mean, you know, when your livelihood for the most part is based on agriculture, I mean, it's taken a long time for things to build back up. I mean, even downtown cities and big cities in the Midwest were negatively affected by just any turns in the market, and you know, everything kind of swings that way. And you know, tons of downtowns just kind of went into ruins, and it's been really amazing just seeing kind of, there's cities everywhere that are just in Iowa alone. I like going around and seeing like what's happening in Iowa. I like seeing what's happening in Illinois and Wisconsin and Minnesota, and just seeing kind of what's sprouting up, because there's a lot of really energized people. Not necessarily trying to bring back glory days, but create like a new glory days. You know, there's a lot of opportunity to create what you want now, to not necessarily just be stuck with what somebody else handed you. Like, here's the city, this is all we have. It's, you know, I mean, I think even you coming back, you know, as, you know, infrequently or as frequently as you come back, I mean, stuff is changing here, and it's getting really exciting. And I think that's kind of, happening all over the place. I mean, you can kind of go into any pocket of lots of cities and see, wow, who are you people? And this is great that you're doing this. Yeah.
Best band currently touring the Midwest from the Midwest?
Ooh.
Or artist?
Gosh, the best one. God, there's a few.
You can list them, feel free.
I really like the band Camp Dogs from Chicago. I think they should be well known. And they've been starting to tour a little bit more, getting some good tours. Man, you know, there's a lot of really good potential bands, you know, like bands that I think have potential that haven't really got out there and doing it yet. I mean, there's two great bands from the Quad Cities here, you know. We have three really good bands from the Quad Cities that, you know, if they had a little bit more discretionary income and could afford to get on the road, they should be able to break. Condor and Jaybird, Sister Wife, and Mountain Swallow are really fantastic bands, and they get out for little jaunts, but they haven't really done a full swing yet. There's a bunch of people, you know, there's a bunch of people from Nashville's so close now too. Like, I kind of consider that a little bit, you know, Midwestern. And I mean, we've just had kind of a pipeline of those kinds of people coming up here. There's just such great talent down there, more so than there's been in a long time.
I know that Codfish Hollow is a real special place to you,
Mm-hmm.
and people who've never been out there before. Describe Codfish Hollow.
I mean, Codfish Hollow is just kind of pure magic, really. It's really a place that shouldn't have existed. That was very luck of the draw, fortuitous. How, you know, I mean, I think we kind of scratch our heads a lot just in how lucky we were to like have found each other to kind of make this, to bring it into existence, because I don't think they would have ever done it on their own. It would have not even been kind of a consideration to do what we've done out there. And it really is just kind of one of the best places you could ever see a show.
Is it the best place in the Midwest right now to see a live show?
I don't know of another better place. I think it takes, you can look at pictures and video and things like that, and you kind of feel like maybe you know what you're seeing, but I don't really think you can understand it until you've been out there once. I think it puts it all into perspective and focus of how is this happening here in the middle of nowhere.
It's not far from the Field of Dreams.
It's really not, no. It's very similar to a situation like that, you know. I mean, you know, when you catch that clip, I just saw it on TV the other day, you know, when the brother-in-law is trying to force him into selling the farm, and, you know, the girl, you know, gets choking on the hot dog, and he wakes up, you know, and sees the players. I mean, it's very similar to that. I mean, like, it's a people will come situation, and I think everyone that's been there has gleefully told 20 people that they need to go there. It's kind of become something completely different, something that we could have never prepared for or planned. You know, it really kind of happened organically, and there's never a bad night out there. You don't even have to care who's playing.
You've got another new venture now. Tell me about the new joint in town.
Yeah, the Raccoon Motel. It's a tiny little place, and I've kind of fashioned it after, the whole vibe was that we told people that we just found it, and it's been locked up since 1973, and we just opened the doors and swept. And we actually did a lot of work to make it that way. But the whole idea is that it was supposed to feel comfortable. It was supposed to feel cozy, and it was supposed to feel like your grandpa's, you know, basement.
I think you pulled that off.
So far,
well.
yeah. I mean, so far we've like created an environment that every band, literally across the board, has been unanimous, has walked in there and just been amazed by. They've been floored. They feel immediately at home. You know, even bands that are playing much bigger venues now, they come in there and they love it, and it's been really gratifying, because I think the one thing that I wanted to do was have a place that you kind of didn't want to leave, or not even that you didn't want to leave, but you wanted to come back the next day because it felt so comfortable. You know, it is a little bit like coming home, and to have that as a venue setting, it's not only great for the artist, but it's great for the people watching them. And you know, my long-term goal for it is to really create, you know, fashion that into like my urban version of Codfish Hollow, where you know, 7 nights out of the week you know that somebody great's playing there from all over the world, and you don't even have to know who they are, because you're going to show up, you're going to see a lot of familiar faces, and you're going to get inspired. I mean, I think it's one of my goals to kind of like try to talk people out of their routines. You know, I think a lot of people, at least around here, get stuck in their routine of get up, go to work, come home, have dinner, watch TV, get up, go to work, come home, watch TV. You know, I mean, it gets very repetitive, and, you know, people that use excuses that they can't go out on a school night, or that they're too old for certain things, it rubs me wrong. So I want to try and, you know, at least create an environment that makes you kind of feel like you should get out of your house.
Last big question, then we'll do some quick hits.
Yeah.
You have your urban version of Codfish Hollow.
Yep.
You've got Codfish Hollow.
Yep.
You had nearly a decade with Day Trotter.
Yep.
Before. Thousands of bands and performers have all come to the Quad Cities. Sure, it was for a chance to record or perform, but the more people and bands that I've spoken with, I mean, they really come because of their bond and connection with you. It's got to feel pretty awesome.
It feels good. I mean, I don't know.
You're a laid-back cat, man.
Well, I don't know how I really don't know how I became a people person. 'Cause I was always like, I was a pretty nervous dude. I mean, I never really kind of sought out to be like a social dude, but that's kind of how it's worked out. And I don't know. I mean, I just treat everybody the same way. I treat everybody, you know, your friend until you prove me otherwise. And again, I mean, I think that speaks to kind of a Midwestern sort of mentality. I mean, I think, you know, how many people you could meet them in 5 minutes and they invite you over for dinner tonight, you know? And I just don't think that happens really that frequently outside of the Midwest. I don't know. I mean, I could be wrong. I mean, I'm biased, but I think you could, I don't know, strangers are it's interesting because I think people come to me, like when they do come in to do something with me, somehow, even though we've never met, I'm not a stranger. And I think that immediately kind of like tears down a lot of barriers to like where, you know, people open themselves up, and, you know, I'm willing to kind of open up as much as possible too. And you know, I've gotten the greatest joy and kind of the most rewarding sort of experiences by kind of just being a person. Like, I'm not this guy that does this, or I'm running this, or I do this. People like me because I don't put on airs, and I don't pretend to be something I'm not. I'm just a guy that likes music, and I have a pretty good ear, and I have some platforms that I can either put on a really good show for these people, which, you know, is rare than people think, or, you know, we do something more extensive or more like lasting or impactful, you know. But it is the best. That's the best part of anything that I've done. You know, I think about that a lot, and it's the people that I've met over the last, you know, 12 years that, you know, both the musicians or kind of, you know, just people I've come into, you know, contact with because of the things I've done. I mean, there's really no replacing that, and there's no kind of substitute for kind of what that is, you know. I mean, just try to treat people right.
And you do.
It always works. It always works.
Quick hits. First one's going to be tough.
Okay.
In all your years, the best performance by anyone that you have ever seen?
There's two people that I say I would go see every day of the week. Every day. Like, not just like, oh, for 1 week. Like, literally every day. If they performed every day and I was able to go see them, I would go see Nathaniel Rateliff, or I would go see Delta Spirit. Every day of the week. The thing, you know, just the things that they make you feel when they perform, just the live stage energy, and just who they are as people. I would go there every day. I think those are always my answers. Those are like the quickest. It's where my head goes every time, you know. And I've been lucky enough to like be able to call them friends as well. And I would just, those are the two.
Favorite place to eat / best thing to eat in the Quad City metropolitan area?
I absolutely love the brisket at Big Mouth's barbecue. I suppose I'd eat that every day if that was like
Nathaniel
allowed.
Rateliff and brisket every day.
Yeah, I mean, if that was allowed and I wouldn't just like hate myself because it's such a heavy meal, I would do that. But I like that. La Finca has become a really big favorite of mine. I'm pretty new to the La Finca game, but man, that Mexican food is good. I mean, that is just so legit. It's not even funny. And that guacamole is the best. My favorite Illinois restaurant on the other side of the river is Lemongrass. I think if I ever
Downtown
have
Moline.
Downtown Moline, incredible Thai food. I've pointed a lot of bands there who have been skeptical that we would have good Thai food in this area, and they've been blown away. So I know I'm on the right path there.
You've got 4 incredible kids. Don't
Well.
fall. 4 incredible kids. Lovely wife.
Yeah.
Multiple venues and ventures
Sure.
going on.
Yeah.
What's next?
Well, no more kids, no other wives.
Sorry, guys. All done.
But more ventures, I suppose. I don't know. I mean, I think we kind of size up kind of the way the Quad Cities is looking and what's still kind of needed. I mean, having venues and being able to provide that kind of entertainment still requires like being met halfway, but it also can be enhanced by other things in the Quad Cities. I still think we need tons more restaurants. I think we still need tons more reasons for people to be downtown. Foot traffic is virtually non-existent. I mean, you can walk around, not necessarily, I mean, hell, even on the weekends. I mean, when we're walking last night, we were the only ones on that sidewalk. It's not like that's a desert downtown. Where's the foot traffic? Where are people? Where's everybody at? We still have a long ways to go that way as far as like conditioning people to understand that there's a lot of really great stuff to do. So, I mean, I guess our head is always sort of in that place, like, okay, what's next? Like we've got these things working, but what could we also add to the mix that would enhance that to kind of perk it up a little bit? And obviously, what Dan's doing with the rest of the corner down there, we're gonna have a restaurant and a big beer garden kind of buffering the Raccoon Motel. We're gonna have a little mini city, within downtown, and I think that's gonna be a huge deal. But it's nice like seeing what other people are doing and kind of adding their little touches to it. I mean, there's all kinds of things that are just kind of floating in my head. I still want to do a residency program here, where we bring like both famous and maybe almost famous people to town for a week, 2 weeks, a month, something like that, and work with other people, kind of collect people, have them all work together. I'm gonna try kind of the first run at that in January, I think. It's gonna be pretty exciting. I'll tell you about it off camera. Just a bunch of things. I don't know. I mean, I don't even know where to start.
To be continued.
To be continued. I mean, there's lots more time.
Thanks, brother.
Yeah, thank you.
Once again, thanks to Sean for his time. I'll link you up to his new bar and music venue, etc. in the write-up to the podcast and over on the Midwest Roadshow's social media channels and at MidwestRoadshow.com as well. Make sure to follow along there for all the next installments. Till then, we'll see you somewhere down the road. Oh, Sean, one last thing. Happy birthday, brother.